Hey, hey. Hey, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from the UK here, SYLBOURNE, and of course on two channels tonight, YouTube and Facebook. Welcome to guys on YouTube. Welcome to those on Facebook. Awesome. Well, it's been a very eventful week. It's Orville. Hey, buddy, how you doing, man? You good? um, let me know where you're from, but I know where you're from uh, on YouTube as well. Just doing experimenting as well. Well, it is the 19th of October. Then you're gonna have November. Then you're gonna have December. Please share this video as well. Let me see. Sharing group. Good evening, Lorna. Welcome. Dun, 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 dun. Well, you know, it's all about Brexit. Whether we like it or not, we cannot get rid of Brexit. Whether we like it or not, we cannot get rid of Brexit. We only will get rid of Brexit when Brexit goes away, right? So that's a reality. That's a fact. Brexit is here to stay on for the foreseeable future. Tomorrow there's going to be this big massive march. I wish I could have gone there, but I can't. But there's going to be this big massive march in London. They say near to 100,000 people will be converging on Parliament and saying Brexit. We want not Brexit, but we want a second vote. That's what many people are going to be saying. They want a second vote, and that is something which many people have been asking for a long time. And you know, there was a vote before 2016. Yeah, 2 years ago, 2016. Never forget that night. And the result of that is that we will Brexit. Okay, so what is happening now is that many people are saying it's in shambles. I think that anyone can actually agree, and I will have to agree that it is somewhat in shambles. Um, whether how much I want to sort of justify it or try to you know, I'm a Brexiter, and I believe that in real term Brexit can be good, but I believe in anything that you do, there's got to be a way forward, and I believe that there's been a lot of stop and go, to and fro, and it's somewhat of a slight chaos, as much as I can say. So as a result of that, there's going to be a lot of issues going forward. The 18th, which was yesterday, should have been a D-Day in a way to lead forward. That wasn't the real D-Day as the Prime Minister wanted, because when the Prime Minister injected to say that, hey, there might be an extension, all hell broke loose again within the ranks of the political frame. So therefore, as far as I'm concerned, we don't know really what is happening. But I believe in principle, Brexit can be good, but everything has to do with any divorce is how the deal is orchestrated, whether there's a deal or whether there's no deal. And presently, things are looking like it is moving towards a no deal. You know, so that's the situation right there, and it is in somewhat of a chaos. Now, many people are saying that if they had a choice to vote again, some say they would vote Brexit, some say they wouldn't vote Brexit. Right? Some say let's just get over it. They're just fed up of it, fed up with how Europe is operating. You hear that big deals, deals which are supposed to be happening might not be happening now. I mean, let's talk about even Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, with alleged killing of this gentleman. This, you know, it's so funny. I just use the word alleged killing because, I think someone said the other day, they said, what about, um, presumed innocent, until found guilty? Jamal Khashoggi, Saudi murder suspect, had spy training, they're saying, right? And you see, everything is coming to bump now in regards to this gentleman here. You know, it is alleged that this gentleman went into the Saudi embassy in Istanbul, and as a result of that, he did not come out. He was killed and his body chopped up and thrown somewhere all over wherever in Turkey, right? And what they're saying is that the Turkish media has identified Maho Abduzai Maghreb as being a part of a 15-member team of suspected Saudi agents who flew into and out of Istanbul on the day of Mr. Khashoggi's disappearance from the city Saudi consulate on 2nd of October. Now, they've uncovered as well details about one of the men accused of murdering a prominent Saudi journalist who was critical of the country's government, right? But one of the things with this whole thing, which is creating a big rumpus, is that there's some big, massive $1 billion deal or £1 billion deal with America and Saudi Arabia, with the UK and Saudi Arabia. And what they're talking about now is, hang on a second, one man actually got killed and everybody is in a tailspin. Thousands have been killed, a lot, by Saudi Arabia, you know, the way how the human rights is, because many people always talk about when other leaders come to the UK or whatever like that, Farrakhan, they don't want them to come, other persons, they don't want to come because of their human rights, but when they come on to Saudi Arabia, nothing, nothing in regards to their human rights, ways of operation, nothing in regards to that, because lots of big monies in there. Prominent persons have been talking about the fact that if this deal blows with America and with the UK, then all of a sudden what is going to happen is jobs, jobs, jobs. Deals that the UK is wanting to make, all those going to go down the drain. And they're saying, hang on a second, after all these years whereby you've got so many persons who have been killed, persons who have been, chopped off their hands or whatever like that by Saudi Arabia, nothing. What about those persons? What is it about the Khashoggi? But there's some school of thought whereby, just like that little boy which was found on the beach, and of course there are many other little boys who were found on the beach dead, raised this sort of awareness in regards to what is happening regarding the level of migrants who are coming into Europe. So therefore, that brought forth this level of groundswell, wave of empathy, sympathy, and all those sort of things. Now it is something maybe similar to what has happened to Jamal Khashoggi. Sometimes you need one person or one sort of focal point that create this sort of groundswell of emotions and making a particular shift. So, so what is happening now is that Turkish media and the Turkish government, the UK government, everybody's saying there are going to be serious consequences. Serious consequences. Really? Really? Do you think there's going to be serious consequences by the UK? Do you think there's going to be serious consequences by the USA in regards to this? Now, I believe in what's going to happen, there's going to be lots of dirt being put in the dish about this particular gentleman. They're saying it's part of the brotherhood as well. Um, so, so what they're saying is that, according to Mr. Moore, there's Mr. Mutreb was introduced as an intelligence security operative, a spyware trainer, nicknamed him Darkface. Always look a bit grumpy. He was on the sad side. And these are some of the guys trained to target citizens. But I think you have to ask yourself this question. When you think about Gaddafi, when you think about Saddam, when you think about all these different persons who somewhat have been, you know, being affected by the Middle East and how the Middle East is somewhat unstable, you have to ask yourself a question. Should there be a destabilizing of Saudi Arabia at this time? It is deemed as Saudi Arabia as a country which somewhat have a sort of control in that particular area, you know, and therefore, if that happens, it will open this level of another floodgate of crazy euphoria in that area, in that zone, and so much is happening. So in regards to that, that is something else which was a part of the week. You got a Brexit, you got Saudi Arabia, um, big meeting they're supposed to have. Those are supposed to deem to be cancelled, and it's that's something to be watched. Yeah, and we're gonna watch that for the next few weeks or so. But it's gonna unfold. But personally speaking, my personal view, I think nothing is really gonna come out of it. That's just my view. I don't know what you think, but I don't think anything is gonna really come out of it of a major level, right? Now, there's something else which was in the news today. I'm doing like a paper review, if anything like that, paper review via the internet, find some papers or whatever like that. But Huddersfield grooming, they said 20 guilty of campaign of rape and abuse. 20 men have been found guilty of being part of a grooming gang that raped and abused girls as young as 11 in Huddersfield. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the UK here, and it's not in London. Men were convicted of more than 120 offences against 15 girls, right? Victims were applied with drink and drugs and then used and abused at will in a 7-year campaign of rape and abuse between 2004 and 2011, right? And if you can see a picture of all these men, nicknamed like Dracula, Bully, Beastie, and Nurse. And one of the things which was prominent about all these gentlemen are they're Asian looking. Now, now, if you remember Tommy Robinson, or those who actually follow some of the news, they always talk about there's a lot of Asian men who are involved in this part of the thing. Uh, in some areas of the UK, but it is somewhat of a crisis nature, of a crisis in regards to what is happening there. You know, there are children who are being abused. There's even on the Facebook now. There's a 14-year-old girl which has been not been found for a fortnight now, which is very concerning. Where the authorities are somewhat looking for her as well. So a lot of children are today being somewhat being used, abused, and a lot of them sometimes are in local authorities, and within local authorities that they are somewhat in the care system. And you see, one of the things about the care system as well, the care system is not foolproof, right? And sometimes you take children away from their parents because of the abuse they're having with their parents, and when you put them into the care system, sometimes they somewhat become abused as well in the care system, which is very unfortunate. But it is how one sort of protect these parameters for the children. Hi, Lyndon Wizard, how are you? Ladies and gentlemen, please click like and please share this video as well. I'm also on YouTube as well. You can catch me over there on YouTube and you can share it as well. But what I'm talking about tonight is looking at the week in perspective, and I'm going to culminate in something about Black history as much as possible, because this is Black history, not this Black History Month, but as well. Gaddafi apparently had Libya in an independent monetary state, making gold the main currency. Um, there you are talking about Euro in regards to Gaddafi and the work that Gaddafi used to do. I'll be very honest with you. When Saddam Hussein was killed, um, somehow I felt it for Saddam in a way. I'm not saying that. I don't know. Yeah, I felt it for Saddam when Saddam was killed. I felt it was somewhat a bit unfair. And then again, because we all found out eventually that all these different what should I say, charges and the weapon of mass destruction, 45 minutes, some of these were sexed up by Alistair Campbell and by Tony Blair and all those sort of persons, Colin Powell and all those guys were part of the whole frame. It was deemed to be unfair. Gaddafi apparently, and this is what you know, so Gaddafi apparently had Libya in an independent monetary state, making gold the main currency, so that would destroy the US dollar, hence they had him killed. Saddam is another story. I watched a show the other day, and you see how things can be orchestrated. One can say Saddam was killed by his own people. You saw that guy at the time, and you saw him who said he had Saddam gun. Not Saddam, my apologies, not Saddam, but Gaddafi. I watched a movie the other day. I forget the name of the movie whereby one there's a guy many years ago was very bitter against this gentleman, and he was so bitter against this guy because this guy actually saw his sister being abused by their father. And this particular gentleman spread it around the news and everything like that. The show sort of went to a flashback and a forward and backwards, whereby he was locked up in this place for about 20 years. About 20 years he was locked up in this in this house, fed Chinese every day, fed Chinese upon Chinese food every day. And then he was fed news, fed reports about this particular girl who was his daughter, fed report that his wife was killed. And so somewhat they were sort of brainwashing him in there with television, with media. They were actually brainwashing this gentleman. Then eventually he got out, and then he was led to, somewhat by following this particular person, which he saw initially before he went in to this particular place. And then he remembered this Chinese lady or this Chinese umbrella. So he moved towards this umbrella, and there he came across some doctors and some sort of persons, and he grabbed the umbrella for someone, and it wasn't the person. So this girl felt sorry for him and said, listen, you need help. Of course he needed help. He was locked up for 20 years or so mentally, and he had some psychological thing. And as a result of that, she befriended him, and then she gave him her card. Just naturally, this is how they orchestrate things. And then eventually what happened is that it turned out that this girl was so nice to him, and he was so nice to her, and they turned out to be lovers. Then eventually, the person who actually con- um, having confined for so many years, they got together somehow, and they started to talk about what happened. Samuel Jackson was in the movie. It turned out that the guy just wanted to mess up this guy, said, and that girl turned out to be what? His daughter. So the girl that he was actually watching all this time on the media through the television program was an actress which he fell in love that was his daughter. So therefore there's no other daughter person that he would actually see or have a relationship with. So he actually had a relationship with someone else which he thought was a different person who cared for him, who actually was his daughter. Right? So I'm talking about the way that how um, Gaddafi was killed, even though Gaddafi wasn't killed by maybe the authorities, was killed by his own people. Then it is how these things are orchestrated because of how the media and all those sort of things pit people against each other. So I'm very concerned about what is happening now, like with the Middle East, concerned about what is happening now in Saudi Arabia, and at the same time looking at some of these things as distractions. Distractions in a way whereby they're actually shifting away. They're like shifting sands, taking away the focus. Brexit is out there in the limelight. Bring up Saudi Arabia. Um, Trump is out there in the spotlight. Saudi Arabia. So news are jockeying for first position. News are jockeying for top space. News are jockeying for top space, left, right, and center. And as these news are jockeying for top space, then you and I, we need to decipher which is it. Because right now on the border of America, you have thousands of Guatemalans from South America going through Mexico, trying to get to America. And the Trump is actually putting a lot of army reserves or army forces right there at the border. What's going to happen there? What's going to happen there? There's no wall. Is there a wall going to be gun bullets or whatever like that? So these are all these different things happening with the Brexit thing, which is happening. The UK is somewhat not in turmoil, but the anxiety of not knowing what is really happening. You know, and that's one of the things. The anxiety of not knowing what. So people are very anxious, very, very anxious. Are you anxious? Or some people say, I shut off the news. I don't want to hear what the news is saying. I'm not careful about the news. Who cares, The right news could be why, not how. The right news could be why, not how, as MJ said. What is the key news? What is your top news for this week? What's your top news? What is it that drives you? One can look at different sites. One can look at the BBC, Sky, whatever like that. If you look on Sky now, you see something. If you look on CNN now, you'll see a lot of things anti-Trump. If you look at different stations, MSNBC, Bloomberg, they talk about pounds. You talk about some people are talking about which person should be on the 50 pound note. Should it be Mary C. Cole? Yes, because they're creating a new 50-pound note. I'm just jumping from different news, some of the key issues there. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, on YouTube. Um, Natalie Board on High. I understand that you took yourself off Facebook for a while or social media. Well, back, nothing much has happened, but except there, I was hearing some people saying something like, you know, uh, Facebook and all these things, you know what I mean? And they put down Facebook. But I want to say that social media, Facebook, Instagram, and all those sort of things, all those different media, is how you use it. Yeah, it is how you use it. It is not for it to use you. It is how you use it. You've got to. It's a tool. You know, you know. Um, uh, it's how you use it. MJ, let's talk about the £50 note. I'm going to go and move from the £50 note. There's a petition going around. I think it's Patch, my good friend, launches uh, that Mary Seacole should go on the £50 note. They're changing the £50 note from paper to plastic, and it is considered that they're looking for different persons to go on it. Some are saying Charlie Chaplin, some are saying some crazy thing. There's actually a Muslim lady or a lady of Middle Eastern background who actually helped in the World War. I don't know if one or two or so, and they're considering her to be on it. Uh, Many are asking for Mary Seacole to be on it, because she played a part in as a part of Black history. No, the question is this. The question is, why should she be on the £50 note? Is a good question. Or why should she be on the £50 note? Do you think that Mary Seacole should be on the £50 note? Should there be a petition for that? Is it a situation where one is seeking validation? Is it a situation whereby she is um, deemed to be on such because what the bank of the governor of the bank has said, there is out there for persons to put people forward to see who can be on the £50 note. So why not Mary Seacole goes on the £50 note? What do you think? Jamaican lady going on the £50 note? Because at the end of the day, we're in this era of Windrush. We're in this era whereby there's injustice. We're in this era whereby it's like a time of atonement. We're in this era whereby it's a time of reparation, repatriation, or whatever like that. People are getting to link back with their roots or so. And we're in this month, which is Black History Month. But I've actually changed the whole thing, and I'm just simply saying this is Black history, which I'll come on to a bit later. Yulo said England is also guilty of creating modern Israel and the changing of Persia into Iran and Iraq. Israel, we see, is said to be Rothschild, Israel making them a U.S. back power in the Middle East, and also, Pakistan and India were all one, split right two in the middle. Saudi Arabia was created by the UK as well. There's so many things which were created by the UK, and the UK somewhat it's such a very interesting bit whereby the UK now is seeking to get independence. Remember, Nigel Farage said at the time of the Brexit, when the votes came in, and Mr. Dimbleby said, that's it, the UK has voted to leave the EU. Okay? And Farage came out a little bit after that and said, Independence Day. We finally got our independence. Can you imagine? The UK is seeking independence. Seeking independence and finally getting independence. Of all the places whereby at the same time many people are trying to get independence from the UK. What's your thoughts on that? Right? But I still want to ask this question out there, and someone can answer it in the meantime. What do you think about Mary Seacole being on the £50 note? Right? What do you think about Mary Seacole being on the £50 note? Now, I have a petition which I've received. I don't know if you've seen this petition, and the petition is very clear. Let's deal with this regarding Black history. And it's like a slippery sand here now. We're just moving from phase to phase. If I can find it, I don't know if you have seen it. Sign the petition. The Bank of England has just announced that they will be redesigning the £50 note, meaning there will be an opportunity to feature a new individual who has made an invaluable contribution to British history. Right? I think that person should be Mary Seacole. Other than the Queen, the only other woman on our banknotes is Jane Austen, and there are no ethnic minorities. Mary Seacole is a Jamaican British war hero who supported troops as a nurse. Actually, my daughter today, she's 6, she was telling me about Mary Seacole. She learned about Mary Seacole in school today. And actually, last year she learned about Shelley and Fraser. Can you imagine that? That's awesome. Shelley and Fraser being taught in the British school during Black History. That's very impressive, I must say. You know, um, so so we're talking about the petition. Mary Seacole, a Jamaican British nurse, during the Crimean War, despite being rejected by Florence Nightingale to join her band of nurses, she traveled to the front of the war in Crimea. She was so widely loved for her healing powers. The soldiers nicknamed her Mary Seacole. After she came back to Britain, she was awarded the Victoria Cross in recognition of her war deeds. Many inspired thousands of people of color to dedicate their lives to the NHS. Recently, the Royal College of Nurses recognized her contribution to British nursing, publicly declaring her on the same footing as Florence Nightingale. Um, and as I'm an activist and campaigner who has been fighting for years. This is Patrick Vernon to get Black Britain recognized. And I launched an initiative called 100 Great Black Britons, where the public voted Mary Seacole as the greatest Black Briton of all time for the heroic way she served the country during the war. And on that basis, the petition is out there, and the suggestion is out there, and the proposal is out there for Mary Seacole to be on the £50 note, the new £50 note by the UK. What do you say about that? Some people are saying it is that we are begging it. Is it that we're seeking validation? Do we need her on it? And then I was listening to a radio station the other day, and this is what they said. Do people really know and take notice of who is on their money? For those in the States, do you know right away who is on the dollar bill or who is on the $50 bill? I don't know what are the different currencies in the United States of America, but in the UK, we've got the £50 note, we've got the £10 note, we've got the £20 note, we've got the £5 note. Do we all know who is on these persons? I can't actually think now, actually, who is on which one, but there it is. So the question is, do you? Is it necessary? You know? Lorna Foster said, yes, I think Mary Seacole should be honored by going on the new £50 note. It is well deserved. Some are saying Margaret Thatcher should go on it. Some people say if Margaret Thatcher goes on it, well, they won't be using £50 note. So it might be, you might see, Margaret Thatcher is such a divisive figure. So you might have persons going for the £50 note who is a fans of Margaret Thatcher, and those who are not fans of Margaret Thatcher will not use the £50 note. So therefore, you have lots of crisp £50 note still in circulation, or still in archive, or still in the bank. Yeah. So it'd be good to hear your thoughts as to whether Mary Seacole should be on a £50 note. And I would also post a petition. I'll post a petition online so you can actually sign the petition for yourself as well. If you want to contribute to that. Not sure how much weight it will have. But of course, everybody is campaigning for that. Now, another thing which I found very interesting this week, and it will make you start to think to yourself, do you need to go back and speak to your parents? Do you need to actually go back in time to actually figure out what really happened those years ago? Because now they are questioning different persons. Cinderella, are questioning Little Mermaid. They're talking about not calling the Kleenex man size. Everything is being changed. Everything is so gender conscious now. You don't want to say man size. You don't want to say king size. Actually, they haven't said anything about that. King size, yes, king size bed. They want to say they have king size. You got queen size. And all those other things. MJ, but 100 people could group together and write a book to honor people who have made a contribution. You don't need 100 people, MJ. Sometimes you just need 5 persons to simply do something. By the time you get 100 persons, there's going to be a debate and a discussion as to why that person is leading or what. Sometimes it just takes 5. Sometimes it takes 2 to change a nation, if anything like that. But there's a lot of different questions now about these. Why did the the prince kissed Sleeping Beauty. Keira Knightley said, it is encouraging these level of affection. Someone sleeping and someone going to kiss them. What is that message which is saying to children, right? um, Sleeping Beauty, Little Mermaid, Cinderella, and all those sort of things. But they didn't mention Beauty and the Beast because the Beast was ugly, if anything like that. Uh, but they're trying to change everything to be gender neutral, everything to be gender balanced. And one of the things that I keep thinking at all times is this: who are the persons behind these thought process? Who are the persons literally who are wanting this change? What is the background of these persons? Where them come from? And so like that. What's their brought up say? Because what that is actually saying is that all the things that you have learned and I've learned of over the years or so is somewhat null and void. Or it could be that everything is just being regularized, because you've got to put it into context at the same time. You got to put it in the context whereby, one, history, as though it was taught, somehow leave out some key elements. And that is why now many people are actually saying we need to actually not redefine history, but actually tell the truth. Because history is history. After Hirsch, I've been talking about getting rid of some statues. Getting rid of some statues doesn't change history. What maybe it is saying not to have those statues up there to make it look as if there were any great prominent persons. It doesn't change history, but maybe change what we say we acknowledge. Now, history, lots of history has been somewhat being designed, being shaped, being worded by persons who have more of the power. And those who have more of the power, they're the ones who are shaping and designing history. Hence the reason the other day, the petition sought to get rid of that text out of a sociology book. And the sociology book was saying that more Caribbean men are prone to be not be there for the family, and put it this way, worthless. If you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, it never had any sort of factual and statistical base for saying that in a sociology book, you know. But at the same time, many people, when they speak about that, they may say, well, Silburn, actually, there's some truth in that, really, based on what people tend to say. But in that book, it never had a particular context properly. It never had certain statistics that could actually prove it. So therefore, one has got to be careful how history is taught. One has got to be careful as to who is teaching history, you know, and therefore one has got to make sure that one actually challenge each other, as I was saying to MJ a while ago, instead of waiting for people to say things, make things happen. I use an example while we were talking about that particular book, and I was talking about the fact that when they say lots of Caribbean men don't take care of their family, I literally remembered the street which I grew up on, and I remember all the neighbors on the side of the road. That neighbor there, that neighbor there, that neighbor there. Well, I can say Mr. Nattis, Mr. Johnson, Nelsons, the Harris, the other Johnsons up there, Mr. Williams, and the Smith. And you can go down the road, and and uh, and and when I thought about that, I said, hang on a second. I could write my history right there. I could write my history right there and say, well, actually, that doesn't relate to me, because all the persons them that my uncles and so families, everybody was married, and the fathers were there, and the father wasn't there for some reason or so, maybe overseas or whatever like that, but taking care of his children. So therefore, it is then maybe incumbent upon each one of us to write a book. You know, write a book of your particular experience. Write a book of your particular experience, and let that book go down from generation upon generations. And that will be your book. That will be your history book, because that is actual history. That is actually the same way how the many years ago the Egyptians, they have these drawings all over, and all those drawings which are all over, those drawings are there, and those drawings are there for generations upon generations to come. That is how we're able to understand certain things about Egypt. That is how we understand certain things about Africa based on drawings, Timbuktu, and all writings down and down and down. So therefore, instead of waiting for others to teach Black history, instead of waiting for others to talk about and giving even Mary Seacole a spot on the 50-pound note, it is therefore important that we teach Black history, talk about Black history every day. If you look on my page just now, I actually posted a video. I posted a video when I was in Birmingham at the Conservative Conference. I popped in a couple Caribbean restaurants while there, and I popped into Mellows. And you see the 1 minute 39 bit on Mellows, and and what you had on that on that wall, you had on the wall you had what should I say? You had a picture of Mandela, you had a picture of Barack Obama, you had a picture of what it would say. Let me see if I can find it. Rosa Parks. You had a picture even of the gentleman who owns that place, whose son passed away. You know, history. So therefore, there was history right in that particular restaurant. So whilst people are sitting and eating their food, there is history right there. And as I look at it here, I'm just looking at the video right here, and I can see the different persons. If you go on my page, you can see it. You had um, there was Muhammad Ali, that's history. I'm going to show you something about this after. Martin Luther King, history. Uh, Barack Obama, history. Malcolm X, history. Katherine Johnson, history. The gentleman's son who passed away, Reese Rawlins, I Believe I Can Fly, love that song. Rosa Parks, history. Maya Angelou, history. Nelson Mandela, history. Right. And Bob Marley, of course. Now, what is so interesting about that is, say for the book that Paula Perry wrote about Black history after a particular period, there's not much books or much history about Black people in the UK. Do you know? Do you know? Hidden Colors, you know? Do you know a lot about Black history in the UK? In those same era, in those same time when you had Jim Crow, while what is happening in America? Do you know about that? You know? I I was I've been posting a few videos. I've been posting a few videos these last days, and posting these videos, especially on Emmett Till. Emmett Till, if anyone can recall, um, was what should I say, was killed. He wolf whistled, it is alleged, this white lady, 1955. He was with his cousins. He's from Chicago. He went to Mississippi, deep south, you know. And as a result of that, cut a long story short, they killed him. And he was tortured, back to the bruise and everything like that, but it was unrecognizable. But the mother, which is Mami Attili, she made it a point of her duty to make sure that his life doesn't go like that. She made sure the casket was open so everybody could see what has happened. And the two gentlemen was her husband and his friend and a couple of other persons, they got off, and and years after they confessed to it, but because of double jeopardy, they weren't able to be tried again. And the lady, I believe, Mrs. Brandt, I believe she maybe have confessed or maybe said it wasn't as so what happened. But nevertheless, still, what you had was in 1955, the killing of this young man. And then I saw the other day this little boy who was traumatized, totally traumatized by this lady who said he touched her up or touched her bum. Actually, I didn't see any bum that he could have touched because, anyhow, I was so skinny, you know, the thing about kukum. Anyhow, but anyway, that boy was so traumatized because the lady was actually calling the police on him and saying that this boy has been touching her and everything like that. And it just flashed back. I just was drawn to watch back the Emmett Till, which I watched a few years ago, watch back and did lots of research back on Emmett Till. And what I saw was there's a level of similarity where it's so important that one understand and remember their history. Still got to move on, but never ever forget. Because with these few white ladies also who are calling police on these black men. The guy wanted to move into his house. The that girl actually was sleeping in her college, in the restroom or whatever, in the recreational room. Um, Bob Marley daughter, the list goes on. The guy with the barbecue, the guys by the pool, and um, and these persons keep calling them, you know. And then I thought about it and I said, at that time with Emmett Till, the lady called the authority. The authority at that time was her husband. And she called her husband and she told her husband, and he called his friends. And I understand also that there were a few black men after deep history was a part of the whole thing. One of them was in the van actually holding on to Tilly, Emmett, you know. Then fast forward to 2018 now, many people are saying this has been happening recently, but I don't think it has been happening recently where white persons or white women have been calling upon black men. Um, the authority that they call now is, guess who they call? They call the police. The police is the authority, right? To somewhat pass down that same level of punishment, but the punishment is a bit different, you know. Fortunately for this little boy, um, totally traumatized. And if you watch a video which is on my page, the mother totally traumatized. The little boy at one point found it very hard to forgive the lady, but it was that simple thing, simple allegation that could create. If it wasn't for the video, if it wasn't for the video in that particular what to call it, the convenience store, convenience shop, if it wasn't for that video, guess what? That little boy, I don't know. It could be a situation whereby social service come into play, separation from the mother, and you know what? That's a recipe for disaster right there. That little boy is so traumatized, and I cannot help but try to think of little Tilly, little Emmett, at that time, 1955, when the guys then came to the house, spoke to the uncle, and said to the uncle, "We're here to see the boy." You know, the other cousins were in the room, another room. They went and they saw the two of them, and they said, "No, you're not the boy." How did they know the boy? But anyhow, you're not the boy. And they went into the other room and they took Tilly, Emmett, and they said they'll bring him back. One of the cousins said up to this day, he still didn't accept that Tilly Emmett went, because the picture of Emmett, of how he was disfigured, he said it's not him, you know, and uh, and it was a devastating thing at that time, the injustice at that time, the repercussion, the but what we're talking about a lot is what is happening in America, deep south. You know, you went further into the whole Black history bit, and you recognize as well something which is very profound, or something which many people know, is that with abolishment of slavery in the United States of America, at that time in the 1800s, people were still not free, and to this day, many people are saying they're not free. But Kanye West, K, yeah, when the slaves were set free, what transpired at that point was that they recognized that they didn't have to work. What transpired also at that time is that the white farmers or the white owners for the farm recognized they did not have anybody to work the land, to do the cottons. How were they going to fix that? So the laws which were created, everything that if that somewhat arrested, you know, somewhat let other. I mean, I could go through it in some length. Maybe I have to come out at it some other time. You know, whereby the vacancy law, the penal. They talk about things whereby if somebody don't have a job, they can be arrested. The least good thing they arrest them. The least good thing they arrest them. The least good thing they arrest them. And guess what? When they arrest them, what they were doing was building back that labor force, building back that labor force. You know, and building back that labor force. And you know when they got that labor force back, what they started to do, get them to work on the land. So they didn't just sit down in prison and be fed like today. They were actually put back out on the field, and there the slavery process continued. And then guess what they do? They were also lending them to other farms or so. Yeah, lending them to other farms or so. So it it's a deep thing. It's a deep thing which is psychological. You know, it is not something to forget, but it is something to acknowledge and something to understand and something to know. You know, there are lots of research or lots of papers on it where I said this is Black history. But what is so important and what is crucial to know, because we know a lot about the the history of Black history, like in the United States of America. But what is needed as much as possible now is what happened in the UK during the period of that time. Do you know what happened in Jamaica during the same period of that time? Right? And therefore, it is important that those things happen. And that is one of the reasons why I strongly believe in this is Black History and not Black History Month. But yes, capitalize on Black History Month for what it is, you know? Capitalize on Black History for what it is. But, you know, I believe that every month on my show, I'm going to have a discussion on this is Black History on different facets, different facets of Black history. Because if you're not careful, the same thing which happened to Emmett Till can happen again, but in a different way. And what you see with that white lady and that little boy, and it's almost similar to the exact thing. It was a shop or something like it was in a shop. Think about it for a second. It was in a shop. Emmett Till was in a shop. Or so. I don't know if he had Wolf Whistler out. I mean, when he Wolf Whistler, I mean, his cousin them were saying, "Oh my days, what is he doing? Oh my days, what is he doing?" And they said, "Let's get out of here fast." And they run and they went in the car and they sped off and they saw another car coming behind them moving a bit fast. They thought it was the guys him after them. They jump out of that car and they run through the cotton field. And while running through the cotton field, they were actually blistered and everything like that. It turned out that car went right past them, right? And therefore, it could be a similar situation like that, whereby that lady make that allegation, and you know normally what it is, their voice against yours. This is not. This is just talking about the reality. Yes, it's a white lady. It could be another lady or so, but it's a white lady. It's a white lady who spoke about the barbecue thing. It's a white lady who actually talked about the guy in the pool and wonder where. It's a white lady who actually called upon the guy who was in that trying to get into his house. Of course, there's a black man who was messing with another guy with the elevator. Of course, the white lady who called upon the black girl there when she was in her university. Of course, the white lady who was speaking to the Bob Marley's daughter as well. It's called a spade, right? It's not something. It's not sort of inciting anything, but it's understanding certain realities. You know, and but the most important thing is one has got to know themselves. That's why I'm very proud of that little boy. You know, you know that little boy there. I believe he's going to be great. You know, look out for that little boy. You know, um, that little boy is going to be something else. His mother spoke into his life and said, "You are. This is going to be something which is really powerful." Um, and you know, I can't remember the little boy's name, but the mother said, "Boy falls accused of sexual assault by a woman, say he's struggling to move on." Right? I felt humiliated. The 9-year-old boy in Cornerstone, Carolina video speaks out. Right? He finds it hard to move on. And his name is Jeremiah Harvey. Jeremiah Harvey. Jeremiah Harvey. Yeah. So that and when we're seeing yeah, MJ, social media is catching them on. And the thing about it, MJ, is that this thing has been happening. Injustices has been happening, but social media, and that is why I keep saying to persons, use social media, take advantage of social media, take advantage of the pros of social media, right? Even Nick Clegg is taking advantage of social media. Nick Clegg, former Prime Minister of the UK, former Deputy Prime Minister of the UK, is now going to be a director for some affairs or some political affairs or social affairs regarding in in at Facebook. Yeah. So I'm not gonna hit on him like many people are hitting on him to say that there's this fat cat ministers of ex-ministers of government. David Cameron now is a quick cash. Nick Clegg is quick cash. The biggest quick cash guy is Tony Blair. You know, get involved in politics. You see, once you get involved in politics and your ministers or whatever like that, you're open. You're open to a lot of information, open to lots of access. Access is powerful, and that is why that access is something which they are being bought for. Yes, bought for, and that's why they're being employed because of access. Access is powerful. Access must be treated very. So therefore, people sometimes have gone through their life, have made networks and whatever like that. That is what people are buying. Let's get Nick Clegg. He knows the things. And of course, Facebook is trying to deal with their reputation in regard to all this fake news and all those sort of things. So therefore, why not bring in Nick Clegg? If it wasn't Nick Clegg, it would have been somebody else, someone who has some reputation out there. Even though Nick Clegg is trying to block, what should I say? Want to block Brexit. I want to say get rid of Brexit. You know, many people want to get rid of Brexit, but at the end of the day, that is person's prerogative. He has a voice. He's a British, so therefore he has a view. Um, um, Tony Blair, like him or loathe him, he's got a view. He's got a voice as well. You know, in regards to Brexit, John Major, like him or loathe him. I think I got the slightly mellow regarding this whole Brexit thing. I just say just Brexit and just go no deal and just call it a day. You know, but at the end of the day, if you got 40, if you got 17 million people voted for to leave, and then you've got 15, 16 or so million, 15 something like million voted to stay, then you've got to work with everybody. You know, unfortunately, you've got to work with everybody, and as a result of working with everybody, you get a deal that not everybody will be pleased about. I'm starting to think that based on the well, essence of collective responsibility by the cabinet with David Davis and also with David Boris Johnson, it is so important that they actually work together. I don't think it is helpful for the country whereby everybody is somewhat fighting each other. I don't think it benefits the country because at the end of the day, nothing is perfect. You know, yes, they voted. I mean, it's just like if a government comes in, just because the government comes in and they win majority of the vote, but they can't just go through and do whatever they want because guess what? You got Parliament who is there to keep them on their toes. You've got the opposition is there to be an effective opposition. You've got the Scottish MPs who are there, and everyone is there to keep everybody on their toes because at the end of the day, that is what government and what Parliament is about. So it is somewhat a bit foolhardy, I would say, to think that the Brexiters, the persons who voted Brexit, will get everything they want like a hard Brexit. I think they would get something which is somewhat maybe of a possibility of a level of a middle ground, if anything. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I'm Silburn. What I was talking about tonight, I've been touching on different topics like catching up on the week, talking about Saudi Arabia, talking about Brexit, where Brexit is at, talking about you know the whole thing with Black history. Touched on the little boy who actually was claimed to have touched the lady, and I know how unfortunate that was. Talking about Nick Clegg, just really touching on certain key topical issues. You know, just like how many people have their news. I'm looking at some of the top news and looking to what people say. And also, one of the things I put out there is, should Mary Seacole be on the £50 note? What do you think about that? There's a petition which is out there, a petition which was created by um, Patrick Vernon. Um, as a result of that, let me just post this now while I'm here. Let me just post this petition that you can actually go on to and you can sign it if you want to. Um, there it is. There is that petition um, to vote for Mary Seacole to be on the face of the £50 note. Okay, and so yeah, so that's what I really wanted to actually say today. Um, and let me see if there's any other thing which I had written down that I wanted to touch on. Um, Mr. Assange, WikiLeaks taking legal action against Ecuador. So he's actually having a go at his landlords. People have been keeping him. Don't know what is happening there, but there's also mad cow disease they're thinking about in the UK. Maybe that's happening again. So different things there which is happening there. But I just want to wish you Harry with the baby. The baby is coming soon. Many people are excited about that. I've drawn a conclusion now in regards to Harry and the baby. Many people are saying it's a black baby, it's a white baby, it's a blue baby. I just say they're having a baby. As that song says, are you having a baby? Da, 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 da. I don't remember the song, but are you having a baby or whatever like that? But it's just a baby. I think sometimes we are color preoccupied, and by that color preoccupation, we somewhat miss the essence of life and people, and start to separate things and start to create that level of division right away. It's a reality that you got black and you got white, but if you notice all the while, and I put it this way, that mixed race, and when people are called mixed race, it is when it is with a white person. The one drop rule. Yeah. Asian persons and a black person, do they call it mixed race? Yeah, many people say they're mixed, but it is normally the one drop rule to a certain extent. So what I say regarding Harry and his wife, let them have their baby and let the baby be the baby. Right? A human being of the human race. You know? That's reality. That's how the world is now. We're all coming together as one. Yes, work together, strategize together, but all coming together as one. That's reality, whether we like it or not. It is not mix up, it is one. Because if we say we are mix up, then we feel mix up. And that's one of the psychological thing about mixed race. It's a psychological thing where people believe that are mix up. But if one is considered as human beings, as one race, then one feel a part of everything. One feel a part. One feel in this whole life, in this process, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So anyway, I want to thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much on YouTube. Um, you can check it out on YouTube. I'm going to check out this workout on YouTube and also on Facebook. Thank you so much, my crickets. Thank you so much for coming on. And thank you, everyone. And we give a shout out to as a matter of fact, if you come on and and you've been here for a while or whatever, just send a message saying hello, where you're from. Maxine Williams, Wanel Alexander, Nana, Maureen Walker, Anthony Michael, Angela Eva Bless, Lorna Foster, Yulo, MJ, thank you for your contribution, Shanton West, and everybody else that came on. I want to thank you so much. Sherry Thompson, Tina McClear, Sonia Mackenzie, thank you. Humphrey Sutherland. Hey Marlon, how are you? How is Mr. Gulliman? The governor, the new governor of Florida, which is going to come soon. Sonny Bunny, Rennie Bond, Paul McKenzie, Paula Prendergast, Ryan Clement, Ferdinand, and everybody else. So thank you so much for coming on. And let me hear your views regarding Miss Mary C. Cole to be on the 50-pound note. And let's talk about Black history. Black history. Black history. It's about your history. That's what Black history is. Your history. Even if you're a white person, that is your history. Peace out. God bless. And have a smashing weekend. And, by the way, look out for Black Dread. I'm supposed to have Black Dread show released this weekend. Yes, look out for Black Dread. And also, I'm releasing this from the Solution Oriented Summit, releasing this show with Rachel O'Keller from Birmingham. I'm talking about when persons are released from prison, what happens. Sometimes they think they're going to go back to the Caribbean or whatever like that, but guess what? They are somewhat deported as well. Yeah, they end up being deported when they think that is okay. She's going to explain some bit about that. And yes, another thing also, yes, the knife crime thing is still happening. right? There's a gentleman who was trying to cool down and stop some boys from actually being mischievous or whatever like that. He got killed, right? So sometimes being a hero is fatal, but that doesn't mean to say you should not be a hero. Okay? Sometimes a life is sometimes there for a purpose and for a period of time. Okay? You have to still be a hero no matter what. Right? And we cannot, I was having a discussion with someone tonight. We cannot give up on any child, any children, any boy, any girl, anybody, because God did not give up on any of us by his grace and by his loving putting his son to die on the cross for us, for those who believe in the saving grace of Jesus. Okay? That is something which is very powerful, right? And I want to make sure that, you know, it, I recently removed a few persons from my page. My page was becoming a bit very toxic. And I want to make sure that my page is somewhat deemed to be empowering. I want to make sure that my page is somewhat inspiring. I want it to be also to be challenging. I want it also to make one think and to not be a devil's advocate, but to be an unapologetic voice. And the plan is to release a book. The plan is to do a book. Yes. And for that to be released sometime in January, all being well. Watch your space. Oh, yes. Because if I said that we all need to write a book and to talk about our history and what we're about, and for it to be sent down, sometimes it's not about making the money about the book. Sometimes it's about capturing history. Put it in a book and flood the market with books of our history. Because the books of our history will be the books that our children read. Because guess what? There's so many books out there, and so many information out there, and so many disinformation out there, and so many stupid information out there, and so many false information out there, and so many story out there. And what we want is the right story and the his story. Okay? We don't want no story. We don't want no their story. We want the right story, your story, and not I was gonna say his story. His story. But they might have said her story as well. Her story as well. Yeah, think about that for a second, so we don't get caught out with those whole gender thing. And I'm saying, so we don't have any more man-sized Kleenex. We got big-sized Kleenex or so, as much as possible. No more. I forget which other place they were talking about. There's a mother care. Let's talk about mother care. It's gonna be mother care and father care. Anyway, let's not go there. World is changing. But as the song by Lou Rawls says, nothing's wrong with the world. It's the people that is in it. Yeah? Yeah? As the song says, what's the matter with the world as the world gone mad? Yeah? And it said, nothing's wrong with the world. It's the people that is in it. In it, in it, in it. Not the Cockney in it, but in it by Lou Rawls. Adrian Dawkins, good afternoon, and thank you so much for coming on. Adrian, you just got the end of a 1 hour special. You got to go back on it, and you're going to be on the naughty steps. Yes, just like my kids, go on the naughty steps. You've got to be on the naughty steps tonight for being late. But then, if you catch up on it as well, you can redeem yourself from the naughty step. Ladies and gentlemen, please do me a favor as well. Everybody, just please share this video. If you watch this video to the end, press share, and also say, do you want Mary C. Cole on the £50 note, the new £50 note in the UK? Thank you very much. I've been trying to say bye for a long time, but you guys are great. Okay, peace out and God bless. Cheers. Love you all. Bless you. Thanks. Guys on and what should I say, on YouTube, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I'll watch a space on that one and see how that goes, but it's a honor as well. Thank you very much and all the best. Now with the YouTube one, I never know how to actually end it, but I think I got it now. Here we go. Stop.